So here's going to be a few more graphic designer and artist complaints. You know what? It's not complaints. Actually, it is complaints and things that you just shouldn't do when requesting a logo from a designer or interested in getting information on a logo for yourself or your company or anything. And I just want to apologize now. I talk with my hands a lot. Something that comes up for art and designs, and I've talked about this before, art and designs take time, and especially logos. A lot of people think logos are really easy, even if they're super simple looking, but they probably took a lot longer than you expected. Unless they were literally just changing a font or just adding a different color, it takes time. It could take weeks or even months to have a finished design because you have to go through multiple editing stages. You have to go through the proofing stages of the people who are the decision makers, and then you have to just finalize everything. It could, even for an independent small designer and a small company, it takes steps, and sometimes between going back and forth, it could really add up. Money, 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 money. That is a big thing when it comes to creating designs for people in businesses. Sometimes people might offer their services for free, but that's not always the case, especially for people who are freelancers or just people trying to get into it, and then they want to be compensated for their time. As long as things are done professionally, I don't think there's an issue. But if you're looking for kind of a cheaper source of design, there are options out there for you. There are online generators. There are college students that might be looking just to build their portfolio. But when you're going to a freelance designer who's been in the field for a while, don't expect a extravagant logo to the level that you want for like 25, 50 bucks or even 70 bucks. You might, because if you go to like a student designer or someone's new or someone who maybe is just doing it as a hobby, they might be okay with that price range. But there's a lot of freelance designers or even slightly bigger businesses that just have a couple people. The prices could add up very quickly because it's the labor time, the editing process, and all the people that are working on it collectively, because it's not always just one person who's working on a design. It could be an entire team. Make sure when you go to someone up front, know what the pricing is, and I guess you can ask why and how things add up to it, because every company can be slightly different. But it's not cheap. It might, like it says, it might seem simple and go back to time. You think it might take a week, but even a week could still add up to a couple $100 depending on who your designer is. So you just have to make sure you do your research before you decide who your artist is. And even you can ask a couple people and get quotes, and that's okay. If you want to go to the lower cost designer, that's perfectly fine, but you gotta know what skill there is, and maybe there's someone that you want a particular style with skill. Maybe you might have to spend a little bit more money, but at the same time you could probably still get a very equally and great logo from a student designer or a hobbyist designer. But just keep in mind, money's a thing. Copyright is when someone creates something, if it's either writing, regular art, digital art and designs, music. When you create something and it's original, it's yours. So if someone takes your stuff and it's not changed significantly, they can use things as inspiration, but there's a difference between inspiration and copying something. So if you're going to go to a designer and you give them examples, which is good because it gives them an idea of what you want them to do, but you can't just say, hey, I want this logo from this company and I just want you to change the name. That's not legal. You can't literally take an exact image and just put your name on top of it. Yes, it's changing it, but it's not enough. You have to have enough changes to be qualified as something new or something original or something that's yours, and not just when you have two things next to each other and the only thing is just one minor thing is changed. That could cause legal issues, and you don't want that to happen. And a lot of times when people request certain things, and then they push back to the designer when they say, no, I can't do that, or I have to make certain changes, or that's a good idea, but that's getting really close along the lines of another logo. Don't get mad at them, because they are professionals and you can't get them in trouble or yourself in trouble. That it could cost hundreds and thousands of dollars if you get caught for that. And I don't know if it would also affect a designer. I haven't done enough research on if designers and the users of the logo have been sued, but you got to be really careful. You can't just take something like, oh, this is mine, I'm just going to change the color. It doesn't work like that. You have to be very, very careful. And I've come across situations where people have had me or wanted me to create stuff for them, but I'm like, I can't do that. It's very uncomfortable to tell somebody no. But designers got to protect themselves, and they want to try to protect you because they want to give you the best service possible. But you can't push back so much to where they end up telling you no, they can't work with you when they really did, but you're just making them too uncomfortable, and it could legally and financially destroy someone. Artists and designers love it when you give them free rein to design something to look kind of in their own style, or to use their own ideas that you might not have had. That's great. We love that. But when you give us nothing to work on besides a name and maybe like one thing, give us colors, give us themes, give us references you kind of want us to work off of, or symbols, or things in your life or about the company. We need to know as much as possible about a logo or any design, but specifically a logo. We literally need to know as much as possible of what you want it to be, because your logo represents your entire company. Logos don't need to be complicated, and actually the more complicated they are, technically the worse they are. So you want something kind of either super simple but gets to the point, just like Nike and Verizon, they have the check. That's super simple. Apple, they have an apple. Coca-Cola is just Coca-Cola, but it's in script. Like, sometimes very simple but creative is all you need. But even when you have a little bit more of a detailed one, you have to give the designers something, because if they work hours and hours and hours, and it could take weeks and months to get sketches and some drafts done, and then they come back to you and you're like, no, that's not really what I want. You really didn't offer them anything. So how were they able to design something that you want when you gave them nothing? It's like asking someone to bring you a meal at a restaurant and you're just like, surprise me. They bring you a burger and you're like, I really wanted pizza. So if you go to a designer or even an artist or any person that creates something, let them know what you want, or give them some sort of guideline. Please. It would make us so happy. So this might go into copyright, I don't know. Don't send artists logos that you have made on online generators and then ask them to just change one thing. I don't want to say it's disrespectful, but I feel a little disrespected when it happens. Not everyone might feel that way, but like I said, going back to copyright, if you go to another company or website, you use their services, some of the images, the fonts, or the combinations of things that you are having done I don't know, these are just examples. They could have those things copyrighted and you don't know. You have to do the research. You can make something and use as a reference, but a reference is very different from a final piece. So if you're using an online generator, which is fine, there have been plenty of logos for businesses that have looked great with online generators, but don't say, hey, I made this, I just want you to change this one minor thing on it. That's not really okay. It's like going to a tattoo artist, just as an example, going to a tattoo artist, taking a picture of your friend's tattoo and then saying you want your new artist to recreate another artist's tattoo. They might do something similar, but the more professional artists are going to be like, I can do something similar, but I'm not going to replicate it. If you want that exact one, you're going to have to go to that artist. Because sometimes certain artists or designers have a style they stick to, and if you're asking them to deviate it, for graphic design, it's a little different. It's not theirs, it's not original, and you just have to be really careful, and it could go back to copyright, and it's just kind of disrespectful a little bit. At least for me it is. Okay, so there were right there a couple things that you kind of want to think about when you want to get a logo done. It could go for art as well. I also made a video on a couple things that you can do to annoy artists and designers. I'll tag that here in the video and down below in the information. But if you like this video and you want to see my other videos, feel free to follow me here on YouTube and also on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at I am Zelda Lee. I would appreciate it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to me here on YouTube. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave a comment, and I'll see you next time.